Hello guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time in my channel, you are highly welcome. And in this tutorial, I'll be showing you guys how to make a 6-piece skirt. This is highly beginner friendly. I'll be teaching you guys how to cut and how to sew everything from beginning to the end. If this seems like something you're interested in, oh well, stick with me to the end of this video. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, I mean, what are you waiting for? Hit on that subscribe button and turn on your post notifications. Also share this tutorial to your family and friends who you think would love this. With that being said, let's get right into this video. To make a 6-piece skirt, first you'll be needing your accurate body measurements, which I'll be placing on the screen. For how many yards of fabric you need to make a 6-piece skirt, a 3.5 to 4 yards of fabric should be enough to make it a 6-piece skirt, and same goes for the lining. As you can see here, I already went ahead to put my lining on fold to cut out my center piece for the front part. To do that, you need to determine how wide you want the down part of your center piece to be. I'll just be explaining that using a drawing illustration. I have my 6-piece skirt drawn out here. I have the front and the back, and it's called a 6-piece skirt because you have a 3-piece at the front and 3-piece at the back. At the back is actually 4 pieces, and this is because we are dividing the center back into 2 to fix our zipper. All right, and that's just about it. This is the waist, this is the hip, this is where the knee line is, and then I have the length of my skirt. I'm just going to put the same measurements over to the back part of my skirt just so you understand whatever I'm trying to explain. Now, coming to this, you have to determine how long you want this part to be, which is the center part I already put on fold. For me, I'll be using 20 inches. If you want this part to be wider and fuller, you can use more than 20 inches. If you don't want it to be so full, you can use less, okay? It just depends on you. When you are done deciding how many inches you want to use, whether 20 inches or 25 inches, then you go ahead and cut out your fabric. Do not forget to add about 1 or 1.5 inch due to your stitching allowance. You don't want to run short on your fabric. To determine how wide you want this part of your center piece to be, the ideal thing to do is to divide your nip to nip measurement by 2. And my mom's nip to nip measurement divided by 2, I have 4.5 inches. I'll be placing the same 4.5 inches I have on my waistline on my hip line, but coming to the knee line, I'm going to remove about 0.5 inch, which is going to give it this curved in structure you normally see on a 6-piece skirt. Let's practicalize everything I just explained. Just like I explained using the illustration, I cut my lining at about 21 inches and putting it on fold, I have 10.5 inches here. Draw a straight line across the top of your fabric to serve as the starting line. And from this starting line, you'll be taking every other vertical measurement. First is the waist to the hip measurement. I'm using 9 inches. Mark that on both sides of your lining. The next measurement is going to be from the waist to the knee line. For a 6-piece skirt, you don't want to mark your knee measurement exactly at your knee. You have to remove about 2 or 1.5 inch from your actual knee measurement, and that's what you're going to be using for this 6-piece skirt. For me, after doing that, I have about 20 inches, so I'm going to mark that on both sides of my fabrics, and I'll connect both my hip and my knee line. Lastly is how long you want your 6-piece skirt to be. Ideally, a 6-piece skirt is meant to be like your full skirt length, so just mark that there and rule a straight line across. Now, the lines we have here is the waistline, the hip line, the knee line, and the length. The next thing you'll be doing is to place round body measurements on each line. You'll be taking your measurement from the folded part of your lining or your fabric. Now, the first measurement you are placing on the waist is our nip to nip divided by 2. For me, I have 4.5, so I'll just mark that there. Also mark the same measurement on your hip line. Coming to the knee line, we'll remove 0.5 inch, which is going to help to give it that curved in look. So instead of 4.5, I'll be marking 4 inches on my knee line, and I'm going to connect all these points together. From the knee line, connect it all the way to the length of your skirt, just the way you see me doing here. Go ahead and add your stitching allowance. This stitching allowance is what you're going to use to connect one piece to another. So I'll be adding 0.5 inch stitching allowance to each point, and I'm going to connect that all together. That's all for the center piece. Now go ahead and cut it along the allowance line. After doing that, this is what I have here. I'll be using the center piece to cut out the center back, okay? So what I'm going to do now is to remove this center piece and fold my fabric or my lining into 2 to cut out the back piece. I've put my center back on fold, and now I'm going to determine how long I want this center part to be, okay? This center part is going to have a tail-like extension, so it's going to be longer than the one I use for the center front. For me, I'm going to be adding extra 14 inches, so when we put it on fold, it's going to be an extra 7 inch. Now I'm going to bring in my center front, place it at one side of the back piece and make sure that you align it well, then pin it down. Taking the measurement of what I have left there, as you can see, is about 7 inches, so I'll just mark that there. This is what will give me the tail-like structure. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and cut out this side of my center back. Coming to the zipper part of the center back, what you have to do is to extend all your lines, your hip line, your knee line, and also your waistline. For the zipper allowance on your center back, you come out on the waistline by 1.5 inch, and then on the hip line you're going to come out by 2 inches and not 1.5 inch. This is because that extra half inch is going to help to to create a butt contour effect, and on the knee line you also mark 1.5 inches. Now connect all the zipper allowances you just marked together all the way to the length of your skirt. Now that you're done doing that, go ahead and cut this other side of your skirt just like you see me doing. Now what we have is our center back and our center front ready. I'll just be separating it for you guys to see exactly how it looks and how yours should look like. Moving forward, the next thing you'll be doing is to cut the side pieces of both the front and the back. The side piece of the front and the back are exactly the same, so I'll be cutting them all together. So I'll be folding my lining into 2 and into 2 again, so I can cut out these 4 pieces at once. And just like we did for the back, you need to determine how long you want the down part of your side piece to be. I have my lining here, and as you can see, I have about 4 pieces here, and that is why I said you should put your fabric on fold and then fold into 2 again, and that's going to give you 4. Okay, 2 for the front and 2 for the back. You'll be bringing in your center front again, and you're just going to place it at one side just like you see me doing here and pin it down. The sides are also going to have like an extension. It depends on you to decide how long you want this extension to be. For me, I'm using 8 inches. If you want it fuller, you can use more. If you want it smaller, you can use less, but 8 inches is a perfect measurement for this. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and cut out this side. After doing that, you'll be using the center piece to cut out the sides. Okay, and I'm just going to remove it like this and make sure that the knee pads are together just like you see me arranging here. I'm just going to place the knee pads together, and this is how we're going to use it to cut. But first of all, I'm just going to place that on top like this and extend all these lines. Make sure to extend your hip line, your knee line, and also the line at your waist. After doing that, I'm just going to remove the front piece and extend those lines to the side just like you see me doing here. Bringing in the center front to align it. As you can see, there are no lines here anymore because I turned it to the other side, so I'm just going to extend those lines also to my center piece. And this is what we have here. Just make sure you place the knee pads together just like you see me do now, and the next thing you'll be doing is to take your round body measurement on each of these lines. Starting off with the waist, divide your waist measurement by 4 and place that on the waistline. Add your stitching allowance. I'll be using 2-inch stitching allowance for this. And then on the hip line, divide your hip measurements by 4 and mark that on the hip line. Make sure that you always arrange these and they're together just like you see me doing here. You do not want that extra space that is not meant to be there. I'll add my stitching allowance. And now coming to the knee line, I'm going to remove either 2 or 3 inches from what I have on my hip line. My mom doesn't like it too tight, so I'm just going to remove 2 inches from what I have on my hip line, and I'm going to mark it on my knee line. If you don't mind it, for me, if I'm making mine, I'm going to remove 3 inches, so it all depends on you. From there, you now connect it all the way to the length of your skirt. I didn't know my camera wasn't recording, but yeah, what I did basically was to connect it from the waist all the way through to the length of my skirt. Now I'm going to cut this out. Now that you're done with that, make sure that you notch the side of the side piece, which will be connected to the sides of the center piece for both front and back. Okay, you don't want to get confused when you're connecting this together. This is what the front part of my skirt will look like. I have the 2 sides and I have my center, and as you can see, that part I notched is meant to be connected to the sides of the center. Okay, for the center part of the back piece, it's separated due to the zipper, so please go ahead and notch the sides so you don't get confused when placing them together. Okay, so I'm just going to place my side there. As you can see, that part that has the notch there, I already know it's meant to be facing this way, and I'm also going to place the other side too on this part. Now that the front and the back part is set, I'm going to use each of these pieces to cut out on my fabric. I have 4 beautiful ankara prints here, but I'll be using just 2 to make this 6-piece skirt. So I'm making 2 6-piece skirts at once. I'll be using any of this ankara print to illustrate. So please do not get confused if you see me using any of the ankara print to illustrate. Now I'll go ahead and cut out each of my lining pieces on my fabric. After cutting out each of my lining pieces on my fabric, this is what I have for the front piece. I have my center and I have my 2 side pieces. So what you'll be doing now is to place your side piece and your center piece together, right sides facing each other, just like I'm doing here. And I'm going to go ahead and pin them down together. Stitch it down using 0.5 inch at the both sides that you pin down. I'm just opening that up, and this is how it's going to look like when I'm done stitching it down. For the back piece, you'll be doing exactly the same thing you did on the center piece. On the back piece, I have 2 center and I have 2 sides. Okay, so I'm just going to take one side of the center piece and put it right sides facing each other on my side piece, and I'm going to do it to both sides and pin it down. And I'll also go to my machine and stitch it using 1/2 inch stitching allowance. You guys, look at all the pieces I have here, and do not forget to also stitch down your lining exactly the same way you did for the fabric. Here I have one of my front piece and the lining placed right sides facing each other. What I want to do is to give a structured curve-like look to the sides of my front and back, and how I'm going to achieve this is to remove about 1.5 to 2 inches from the sides of the front and the back piece. This is the front part of my skirt, and I've placed it right sides facing each other with the lining. Make sure to notch the knee part, just so when you iron it, it doesn't look tacky at the front. Just like you see mine looking here, it's looking neat. So make sure you do that to yours too. You also need to make sure that your fabric is at least 1 inch longer than your lining, and this is what you're going to use to have a seamless finish at the hem of our skirt. Okay, just like you see mine here. Now I'm going to go ahead to remove 1.5 inch from the sides of my skirt, and I'll also be doing this to the back piece. Now that I'm done with that, I'm going to bring down my lining to be the same length with my fabric, and I'm going to go to my machine and stitch it down at the hem using 1/2 inch stitching allowance. I'll also be doing the same thing I did to my front piece to each side of my back piece. I'm going to remove 1.5 inch from each side, and then I'm going to put the lining to be the same length with the fabric and go to my machine and stitch this down using 1/2 inch stitching allowance. After doing that, this is my back piece here. I've already turned over one side, as you can see, and the other one I'm just going to make the lining at the fabric to be the same length at the waist. And as you can see, the hem of the dress just is closed up already. This is what I was trying to explain to you guys initially. So I'm just going to turn that over and keep it for you guys to see exactly what it's going to look like. This is actually the best way to sew the hem of your ankara print. It's just going to give it this neat finish. I'm going to turn it over also to right sides facing each other, and this time around I'm going to put my lining and my fabric at the same length at the waist, and I'm going to stitch down the sides using a few inches. It doesn't have to be up to 1/2 inch. I'll be doing exactly what I did for the back piece for the front piece. This is my front piece here. After stitching down the hem, I'm just going to show you guys when I turn it over. As you can see, I have a neat finish. So what I'm just going to do is to make the lining and the length of the actual fabric to be the same at the waist, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch it down using a few inches by the sides. After stitching it down at the sides using a few inches, this is what I have. I'll just turn it over to the right side so you see what it looks like. This is what I have, and as you can see, I have a neat finish. All my wrong sides are hidden inside the skirt. What I'm going to do now is to press this out neatly. Ironing is very important in sewing. It's just going to make whatever you're making look more detailed, and it will help you to stand out. After giving it a good press, this is what my front piece looks like, and this is what my back piece looks like. The next thing to do is to place your back piece right sides facing each other, and we'll be marking out our zipper allowance. On the waist you mark 1 inch, and on the hip I'll be marking 1/2 inch. That extra 1/2 inch I left is for the butt to sit there, and then the knee I'm going to also mark 1 inch. Then from the knee point all the way to the length of the dress, I'll be marking 1/2 inch stitching allowance. After doing that, I'll be joining all the points I just marked together, just like you see me doing here. Now go to your machine and stitch down on exactly these lines you just drew here. After stitching it down, this is what I have, and I've gone ahead to open it up and iron it out neatly like this. For the front part, I'm going to fold my skirt into 2, making sure that I line it very well, and I'm going to pin it down from the beginning, that's from the waist to the length of the skirt. What I'll be doing now is to take my measurements on each point from the waist all the way to the length of my skirt, starting with the waist. Also, do not forget that you'll be taking your measurement from the center front towards the side. Now on the waist, I'm going to divide my waist by 4, and what I have is 10 inches, so I'm just going to mark that there. Divide my hip by 4 from the center front, and I'm also going to mark that there. I have 12.5. Then remember that on my knee I removed in 2 inches from what I had on my hip point, so I'm just going to remove 2 inches from 12.5, and what I have is 10.5. If you remove 3 inches, what you will do is to remove 3 inches from what you had on your hip line. Now from the knee line, I'll be marking 1/2 inch all the way to the length of my skirt. Connect all these points together using your rule, just like you see me doing here. After doing that, I'm just going to open up my skirt just like this, and I'm going to fold it to the other side of my lining, just so my chalk, the markings of my chalk get replicated on the other side of the lining, and I'm just going to draw this out. Now I'll just be taking the total measurement of my waist divided by 2 now that I've opened it up, to be sure that I actually cut this correctly. So my waist divided by 2, I have 20 inches, and as you can see there, I have 20 inches. For the hip, when I divide my hip by 2, I have 25 inches. So I'm just going to bring that down for you guys to see. As you can see there, I have 25 inches. Then removing 4 inches from the 25 inches, what I have on my knee is supposed to be 21 inches. So let's just measure that and see. And yes, I have 21 inches here. What we'll be doing now is to join the front and the back piece together, and to do that you just place the front and the back piece right sides facing each other, just like I'm doing here. I'll just take this to the floor so you see everything I'm doing. This is it on the floor, and what you just be doing is to stitch down along these lines that you drew on the front piece, okay, to connect the front and the back together. After doing that, this is what I have, and this is what the front side of my skirt looks like. Our 6-piece skirt is coming together. I'll just turn that over to the back so you also see what the back looks like. This is what my back looks like, and as you can see, that part, it has enough space for where the bodice sit. Now let's go and cut out our band. For the band, for my band height, I have about 4 inches here. And for the band width, I'll be using my total waist measurement, and I'm going to add about 4 inches to that because we have the zipper allowance there, and you just want to have extra just so you don't run short on your band, okay? Make sure to iron your interfacing on your band to give it more structure. As you can see here, I've ironed my interfacing on my band, and I've also folded in one part by 0.5 inch. And this is the part I'll be using to finish up my band on my skirt. As we go further in this video, you understand. Take the round measurement of the waist on your skirt just so you know what you are working with. Before sewing, place your band on your waist like this, and then fold in the edge of your band just like this. This is going to help you to have a clean finish. Don't just go ahead and just place it like that and sew. Fold in the edge so you have a clean finish. Now I'm going to put that under my needle and sew this all the way around. Getting to the end, we are going to cut off any excesses we have there, not exactly at the zipper, just leave some, so you'll be able to fold it in like this, just like you did at the beginning of the waist, okay, to give it a clean finish. Now fold that in neatly and then sew it all the way, and make sure to double stitch at the end to keep it in place. Now we are going to finish off the band by bringing the other side of the band to the front and finishing it off just like you see me doing here. I just realized I didn't show you guys how I folded in my band before starting to finish it, so I'm going to show you before I finish it. You have to fold that place in like this, just like you see me doing here, before folding it, so it covers everything and all the wrong sides or whatever it's inside your band and not showing out, okay? You can rewatch these just so you see exactly how I did that, okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and finish off my band. What I'm doing here is just to sew a straight stitch at the end of each side of my band, just so everything I folded in stays in place. Now that I'm done fixing my band, this is what it looks like. This is how beautiful it came out. And as you can see here, I fixed I fixed an elastic band to my waist. If you'd like to know how I did this, it will be in the next tutorial I'll be posting for those interested. If you just like your band plain, then well, you just do what exactly I described in the video. To fix the zipper, you need to first determine how long you want your zipper to be. For me, I'm using 10 inches. So this is my zipper here. I already went ahead to open up my zipper allowance like this. So I'm just going to place that on the back of my skirt, and I'm going to pin it down using those lines. This is the lines that I had on my skirt when I loosened out the thread, or when I loosened out the stitch I using holding my zipper allowance. Okay, so it's just going to serve as a guide for me. Now I'm going to pin that down using the lines I have there after loosening my stitch as a guide. You can also use a chalk to draw that out clearly if you can't see yours, just so you know what exactly you're doing. After pinning your zipper down, now you just go to your machine and stitch it down on both sides, okay, just the way you pinned it down. If you don't know how to stitch down a zipper on your skirt, just let me know in the comment section and I'll make a tutorial about that. We are done making the 6-piece skirt, and you guys, I made 2 6-piece skirts at once, which I'll just be showing you what the finish looks like. This is totally doable even as a beginner. If you just follow these instructions, it's going to be easy for you. You can also save to watch later. You can download this video so you can always go back to watch. We have come to the end of this video, and I hope this video was really helpful for you. I'll be glad if you let me know in the comment section. Do not forget, if you have questions, hit it there on the comment section. Do not forget to hit on your subscribe button. Share this to family and friends who you think would love this tutorial. And yeah, I'll be posting another tutorial on how to attach a band to a skirt, just like the way you saw my own finish. So I'll just be making another tutorial on that, which is going to be the next tutorial on this channel, and you wouldn't want to miss that. See you guys in my next tutorial. Bye.